Second.
Welcome to our economic development briefing this morning, and we have in the house our economic development lead, Paul, who's going to kick off now. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. With this briefing this morning, I'll just kind of reiterate where we're at and how far we've come in the last 6 months. I've been enrolled now since 22nd of January. We'll have a brief discussion about what I've done, what I'm going to be doing, and let's crack into it. There you go. Okay, so this is an economic development lead update, what I've been doing, like I said. Stakeholder engagement, I've been constantly liaising with various stakeholders across the district to keep them abreast of what I've been doing and what I'm going to be doing and how they can get involved with that. The economic development strategy, we've had a conversation about that today, and that's been endorsed to go forward, council. Investment tourism website, there's a fairly big conversation about that, and it fits hand in glove with the economic development strategy and its investment tourism website, so I'll allude to that as well. Networking is something I prolifically do. I'm a prolific networker, networking with all of the businesses and the associations around the district. A reporting dashboard, part of my remit is basically report to the Economic Development Committee meeting, which I'm doing today, and although it's a fairly high level, the infometrics data that we get through every quarter will form part of that reporting dashboard. I've created a database. I understand that council is talking with Datacom today, I believe, about a presentation insofar as developing a CRM website across council, which is basically a customer relationship management software. Single points of strategy, that's been implemented now, so any business inquiry that comes through council I receive and I make contact with. I've been constantly developing a repository of information for any investors that want to come into the district or any generic information that they require. Delivery of a business startup program, there's a copy of it here if anybody wants to have a look at that. Something that I've written over the last year. It's a 7-week business training course which I've developed and written from scratch, and that has been socialised with both Dargaville Community Board and Mangawhai Business Association, who will hopefully run those courses later on in the year, which I will deliver. Form an advisory panel. I've been talking to interested parties with that view to implementing that advisory panel, and I'll give you an idea about where that's up to as well. Just a very simple thing about creating the economic development page within the KDC website. That's ongoing. I've had a conversation this week with the comms team about how I can get that done. Do we have a PDF of this page, Alana? Is it legible?
Just talk to it.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, yeah. So basically, this is a roadmap that Jason asked me to do earlier in the year to say what I've been doing, how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it by, and as I talked to in the previous meeting, we spoke about a 12-month contract which I've got. So I've tried to encapsulate everything within those 12 months. So obviously stakeholder engagement, that's ongoing. The economic development strategy, which we've spoken about this morning, it's getting that adopted by June, which is on target to do. The investment tourism website, that's been ongoing quite literally since March of this year, and we're at a fairly advanced stage with that, and hopefully that will be uploaded by the end of August. Networking, as I've already mentioned, that's an ongoing piece of work that I do. The development of the reporting dashboard, I have a reporting dashboard available for use at the end of July. The creation of a database, which is ongoing. So should I not be here or not available during the next year, then that information has not been lost and will be there for people's use. Repository of information, that's obviously ongoing. And the delivery of the business startup program, that's going to be hopefully starting in August in Dargaville and starting in October at Mangawhai Business Association. I've been talking to people about the advisory panel, so I'll be talking about what that group looks like, and I'll have that organised by the end or the middle of August. And some comms around my role as well. We've not gone out there and said who we are and what we're doing insofar as economic development within the region. So hopefully that will be up and running by then.
Paul, just with regard to that chart,
Mm.
I think probably because in the PDF it's resolution.
Yes, yeah.
I just wonder if we can just print it, see if we print it once in A3 and see
Yeah.
if it is readable, because I can't read it on the screen.
No, it's
Chair, I don't have the PDF, which is readable.
PDF is readable.
Share it with you now, would that be helpful?
Yeah, either that or
Yep.
send it A3 to that one seat,
It doesn't really translate to an A3 either.
doesn't it?
No, it's I mean, the best way to deliver it either through a PDF or through an Excel spreadsheet.
Ah, yes, we could print it,
It's just,
we could print it to A3 via Excel.
yeah, it just,
That would give us
it just
the,
comes out, it doesn't translate very well to a printed document.
Is it,
Business.
is it possible to print off the top half and then the second half is
Yeah, that.
separately?
oh, yes.
It's basically my responsibilities.
Yeah, okay, well,
Printer, actually, I need.
I have you
I
got
do.
the Excel?
Yes.
Have you got the Excel file of this document?
I don't have the Excel file.
Have you got a PDF of
I
it?
have a PDF.
That should print in A3. Or the, sitting in one corner of your A3 sheet when you print it, you just make it
Yeah, it
fit to sheet.
just didn't translate very well to a printed document.
I'll just have a look at it. Anyway, carry on and I'll see if I can print it, actually read it if I can't see a thing.
And then just to reiterate, that underneath there is basically my key responsibilities that were defined in my job description for what I do and what I'm supposed to do. And so I often refer back to that. That's why it's there as such. So we've got to the second part of the briefing, which is basically the investment tourism website. Kuiper District, obviously we've got our inherent KDC logo and so on and so forth. So this is the start of the document. And the brief, I'll just read this brief out to you. Kuiper is a wild, rugged and raw, rests quietly between New Zealand's biggest city and the established tourism destinations of the far north. But it's so much more than a gateway, which is what you alluded to might be cool. It's a place of great beauty, untamed nature, rich history and endless opportunity. It's people and raw, authentic and real, full of pioneering spirit, creativity, ingenuity and resilience. We want to share the district story, to put it on a map as a place to stop, explore and enjoy, to attract young families seeking a more balanced life, where passions and careers can thrive in tandem, to show ambitious business owners that their ideas can flourish without boundaries in our talented communities. We want to come up and breathe the air, breathe the salty air, to lose themselves in star-filled skies and crystal clear waters and discover Kiwi life at its best. So that, in essence, is what we're trying to achieve. And the language around that is key. So we've not spoken about east or west there or put that definitive boundary up there. We've spoken about the region as one.
Got that.
Yeah, it's quite powerful actually, when you start to romanticise about what we've got in the Kuiper. It kind of encapsulates it quite well. So the process that we've gone through is align on target markets. So we've spoken about how to live, visit, work and invest in the region. We've defined our target audience, agree objectives and success metrics, identify our places of interest, identify our key points of difference, real-world research, explore the district, talk to people, and conversations with Mana Whenua as a given. We've come up with the brand architecture, which is basically develop brand territories and narratives, develop brand architecture to preferred territory, look at the vision, the mission, the purposes, the values, the tagline, the tone of voice. We've got a really broad, varied, diverse region to get the right tone of voice. Internal and stakeholder research to validate brand architecture, which we've done, revise and retest if necessary based on stakeholder feedback. So we're at the third stage now, which is basically create a logo, a colour palette, some font options, image style, high-level brand guidelines, preferred name, logo type, image style, internal and stakeholder research to validate visual ID direction, revise and retest if necessary based on stakeholder feedback. So I don't have visuals for the exact what the website's going to look like right now, but this is what I've alluded to. This is the process that we've gone through.
Have you got somebody in mind that you would have?
Yeah, we're
Build it?
working with Brandon Soul, which is a local design agency based out of Kindred down here.
Yep.
And they've, you know, the way, the professionalism that they've gone through to get to this point has been phenomenal.
Very good.
And we've got more than our bank, we've got the 15 grand.
What is the relationship between that business and Misty on council staff?
Well, Misty and I have been working really closely together through the comms team, which, if you think about the process of developing a website, we've gone through all this initial thought process to get to this point. And we've got the 15 grand to help develop the brand identity and so on, so we've done that. As we go further forward, the comms team will actually be building the website.
Right.
Can you repeat that? Where does this business hang out? Who are they?
Who are the owners of the business Brandon Soul?
Who are the owners?
Yes.
There's a gentleman called Ben Harvey Lovell.
Right.
You know him?
No.
And Max is so Ben Harvey Lovell is a strategic person, and Max is the designer. So it's a very close-knit, small company.
So the only connection with Kindred is
Misty.
that Misty's, Kindred is Misty's business and those guys are a tenant in that building.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the process. So I don't think there's any conflict of interest in.
No, I don't know. I'm just interested to understand how they were related. Yeah.
So we've gone through and we've got to this third point here, and that's as far as the brand brief goes. That's the extent of the sort of process with us, with council. And like I said to Councillor Howard, that's really, we've got more than our fair share of work from them. We've led them dry, basically. Misty and I have worked really well, and we've done. We think we've got a good project underway.
Very, very fortunate, wasn't it, to have her come onto the staff
Well, everything, yeah.
funding?
I mean, Misty's been incredible, to be honest. A real driver of this this initiative. In fact, we've come a long way, and I couldn't imagine that we've got what we've got. 15 grand.
Cool. No, that's very good. Good value. And I'm delighted that you're using locals.
Yeah, that was key. That was key in the decision-making process. Yeah, I'd hate to be putting this to an Auckland agency. Wouldn't have got the same benefit that we have.
And could buy $500,000.
Yeah, probably not far off, to be honest. There. Yeah, so the next process is basically take it to market, what channel strategy we're going to use, what media strategy, website development, content creation, and detailed brand guidelines. So that will be part of the next thing, which we'll do with the communications team from council. We appreciate they've been really busy on LTP to get it to this point, but we'll have that resource to use going forward. And just to allude to the amount of work that is going to be needed to be going on forward, we will probably come back with our cap in hand at some point to develop what we can't do from a resource internally. So the operational expenditure we haven't validated for at all yet, but that will be as we go through.
Because I was going to ask a question of CE Maris that, you know, whether there was some funding allocated in the ops budget. But
At last check, I think we had some funding set aside, it's about 50k.
Yeah. Okay, so
okay. Thank you.
I couldn't say my budget, but we will be able to do this. Sorry, Craig, we will be able to do this. Majority of the work. You've got the skills within council to do that. You've got me, you've got Misty, who've developed several projects along the same lines before. So we're under no illusion what that's going to take. It's going to be ongoing promotion, ongoing content management, and every other part of promotion that we need to go forward and evolve the website as well. So we've gone through that thought process. As and when we need more resource, we'll come back for it. But that's the only way we're going to get it off the ground. Rather than thinking about the obstacles that are going to come up in the future, we've just got to.
Yep, that's good.
I'll just.
So with the branding elements that we've looked at Kypra in its entirety on its own. We've also looked at Northland, looking at the other regions about how we might be able to integrate with Northland going forward. And so we've come up with that in the process as well. So each identity for Northland, Whangarei and Kaipara, we come up with a second concept which deals with that, which I'll allude to as we get to that point, which will be in the next few weeks.
I was looking at that map before, they were a bit stingy when they reorganised everything, weren't they? I mean, I know that was probably the boundaries at some point, but they could have not just chopped Mangawhai off out into a little point on its own, they could have given
Yeah,
Kaipara that lower part of Whangarei sort of
geographically challenged, to say the least.
I mean, the top of the Brindewans is a sort of large feature, but given us as far as Waipu or something, we would have had a bit more of a room.
Yeah, but you know, that's over the other side of the Brindewans. Yeah.
It is, but-
Just one little point on that, is Open only in the right place?
Good point. I'm not sure.
I thought that
Aye.
Open was on this side of the Hokianga.
It is. That's probably Kohu or something over there.
Yeah, possibly.
Just, so, you know, I'm paying attention.
It's all right, it's all right, mate. Just to go on with the audiences, obviously we're looking at to live here, to visit here, to work here, to invest here. And that is Kaipara only. Caveat that we are part of Northland. Audience needs to live here. Obviously, we've got young families, business owners, entrepreneurs, people and family returning home. The part of the objective here is to retain people rather than leave the district and leave all the family ties here. What are they looking for? What does Kaipara offer? What's not so good? The reality check. So the needs of full-time resident. I see we've got a dentist now in Dargaville, which is a fantastic plus. But it just goes to show how underutilised we are across the region in so many facilities to help people stay here, grow here, and live here.
Even made the news.
You did? Oh, last night, yeah.
You made the news.
Dentist.
The
Dentist in Dargaville.
Dargaville dentist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
It was on TV1, so there's probably nobody watching it.
Yeah, so basically the needs of full-time residents are there. Affordable housing, which is key, of course, doctors, emergency health care, which we need, vets, dentists and so on. Reliable infrastructure, constant challenge, but there it is, we are where we are. Connectivity, I know with Starlink, we will have 100% coverage when one get their act together later on this year. I'm working here. Good schools. Schools is a big issue, of course, and that will come with that inevitable growth that we're experiencing down in Mangawhai here in particular. That growth will come. It might not be in an organised fashion, but it will come. Hospitality. We got very poor state of hospitality with our tourism market, which needs to be addressed. And family activities.
Interesting that the needs of the full-time residents, and we've seen that here at the village recently with hospitality struggling, to have enough of season custom or even to be able to stack up financially throughout the year. And so you have 3 restaurants in a cluster that all close at the same time, and so, from the perspective of future planning about capacity for Mangawhai, whilst we've got growth pressure, we sort of need to plan to have a critical mass of people here that allows us to actually have those things that full-time residents want, like being able to go out for dinner.
You will find that people, there's a small group where people actually don't want change.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want growth, don't want investments. They just like it as it was.
I've had that many a time.
Yeah.
That's the history of this place.
Yes. That's every Dargaville.
Well, it's both actually, isn't it? I mean, people were very opposed to Mangawhai Central, but as soon as it happened and had a commercial area with the Bunnings in a new world, you can't keep people away from it, and the noise finished and everyone thinks it's wonderful. So sometimes things have to happen for people to actually come on board.
But I think, look, you did right, Mr. Chair, and if I may add to that, and I think that this is an absolute wonderful opportunity, but a critical factor in terms of comms. And for us to embrace those that don't want change, but to put it in the positive vernacular,
Yeah.
what is happening and where the benefits are and what is happening for employment and the services that they're getting, improvements and all that. So, I mean, it is going to become, you might say there is less resistance going to happen because we grow more new people, but we've got to address those people. And we only can address those with positive comms.
Yeah, I think that's like the comms piece that I put in there about myself being in situ. That's why I pushed that out a little bit further, so I've got a better understanding of what I need to say.
Yeah.
And don't put me the size 9 straight into it and upset a lot of people. But we need to talk about the positive, as you say.
Yep.
So this is a target audience of who's going to visit here. So tourism, what are they looking for? What does Kuiper offer, and what's not so good? So we try to address all of the various viewpoints and look through a lens of people who visit here. The needs of visitors, obviously, accommodation, camping. We're blessed with lots of camping ground, which is great. Emergency health care, which is not so good. Accessibility. You know, you talk about we've got a little wheelchair there. Accessibility across our roading network, which is 70% on seal. Does that put people off? Connectivity, discovery. There's so much to discover in the Kuiper that people are just not aware of. The Kaihu Valley Trail in particular, biking and trails. We've got some great hikes, adventure activities, fishing. We've got some beautiful fishing opportunities across the whole of the district, which is phenomenal. But people do travel through. They see it as a gateway going north. We need to change that perception. Retail, we could do with perhaps more retail. Again, there's no argument against that. Hospitality, that's key with rooms for rent and so on, and family activities. Work, who are they? So migrant workers, seasonal workers, we've got a lot of that.
Sorry, sorry, Paul, just going back to a point, is pedantic. But what's not so good, our golf courses are not actually in Kuiper. Well,
That's a misinterpretation of the information that we've given.
I mean,
We've got Bailey's, we've got TRI, which is in Kuiper.
Wow.
well, it's Taraiti is just on the border, but most of it is in Auckland. So, I mean,
Claim the route we can.
well, absolutely. I mean, you know, you're going past them on the way here. This is the whole thing. But, you know, Mangawhai is a top 40 ranked.
Yeah, I played there not so long ago. It's a beautiful golf course. There's done so much work on that course. But you know, when you talk to people from Kuiper, even residents in Kuiper, they think Waipu is in Kuiper.
Yeah, that's right.
They think Langs Beach is in Kuiper. You know, so it's amazing how much is misunderstood about that. So we really need to clarify that.
My point.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we just claim them as our own. I mean, Tara Iti and TRI links, whilst they're technically in Auckland, they're not close to any metropolis or anything. They're right on our boundary. They're basically employing people out of Mangawhai and they gravitate to Mangawhai.
We certainly, even though they're not contributing, and we can talk about the golf tourism in more detail later, but even though they're not contributing, we're including them because
We
they
are.
are part of the,
Nice.
they are part of the gateway.
The open talk about Tanamahuta, that's actually outside of Kuiper, isn't it?
Who's that?
Tanamahuta.
I think
It's
it's,
in,
Oh, no, hell no, that's
yeah,
included.
it's in Tani
Tani Mahuta is, yeah, absolutely, the Waipua Forest.
Mahuta is technically in the far north.
Sorry, that's-
Waipoua Forest, yeah, starts in the Kuiper.
Does it? I thought it was went all the way up to Opunoni.
No.
Okay, well, yeah.
We could just establish that reputation.
We will take it, we will take it. I mean, it's jumping ahead, but
Dargaville was more of the gateway to it.
in the golf tourism strategy,
Yes.
really encouraging the guys to look at this as the gateway, but we've got Northern Warrowa included as part of the gateway.
Yeah,
Because what I want them to do is come here and play, then go to Dargaville, have a game there, then go straight up through the Waipua Forest and all that, open only into the Bay of Islands. They can either stay in the Bay of Islands or go to the far north.
yeah.
And if they want to, they can come to Whangarei on the way back. But I just think to open up that west coast as part of that is huge.
Yeah, it's key, and this is why I'm talking about in this investment website that we're talking about. We've also talked about Northland as in its entirety, because like if I was to bring, for instance, a trade delegation, I'd be taking them to Northland as well. Same with tourism.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Migrant workers, seasonal workers, contractors, permanent employees, regional migrants, lifestyle. That's just the type of audience that we're talking to. You know, what are they looking for? What does Kuiper offer, and what's not so good? And there's a whole list of what's and wherefores underneath that. To invest, who are they? High net worth individuals, business startups, entrepreneurs. We have a golden opportunity there. I've hardly spoken to any investors as yet, but I will be making that link. And how we can link up to Taraiti and the members there, whether that's a big no-no, or whether there are people that I can contact within those.
We can help you there, but I mean, it is a eventually softly catch and make it.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. I'd need to speak to you, Mike. Places to explore, we've got so many great things. We've got the Kuiper Harbour, we've got Mangawhai itself, Dargaville, West Coast Beaches, Kaiwi Lakes, which we alluded to before, and the Waipua and Kauri Forest, and obviously you've got the small townships, which have got their own personalities and history behind them. And as we're talking to iwi in particular around some of the stories that resonate around those districts. Things to do, obviously fishing, the surfing, the tramping, the golf, the camping, the Kauri Forest and biking, which we've spoken about as part of our tourism strategy. So the draft brand architecture that we've come up with, when you talk about the tone of voice, which each audience needs its own tone of voice. So if we're talking to a visitor, somebody who's going to be working here with you, so at one end of the scale you've got gritty, at the other end of the scale you've got discovery and adventure. So the tone of voice as we talk to people, that needs to come through loud and clear on the website, and that's something that we've been actively doing as well. So make Kuiper the place to be, with an exclamation mark, as you would allude to. Find your place, connect communities, a place to breathe, two oceans. So one of the taglines that we come up with is come up for air. And so when I'll probably go through you individually actually to develop conversations around the brand that we've come up with and how that fits in. So Kuiper come up for air, we've been quite clever about how we've executed that. And that's the next stage in this whole process. And that concludes. Thank you. Questions?
I'll let the others go first.
You go ahead, Mike.
Excellent, Paul. You've sort of captured the vibes, and I have 3 points written down. Networking,
Yes.
and you touch on it. Please don't feel that you have to do it yourself. Use us.
Yeah, fine.
I for one would love to help. Give connections and things like that. And we touched on Taraiti. We just have to be very, very, very careful. Jonathan would probably know more even than I, but they are coming to the fore on a number of fronts that I don't know whether you're aware of yet, but and it's a very, very delicately managed process.
I'm appreciative of that fact, yes.
So that was one, but you know, I mean, please do, I hopefully I speak for everybody, use this, Gaudio with all his contacts over on the west. Hospitality, yes, it's an issue, we know that. What do you know at this stage of plans for facilities, infrastructure?
I had a conversation with Northern Link not so long back about the Copthorne Hotel looking at Fongaree, and it didn't quite meet their requirements. I think I mentioned it to you, Craig. So that's a conversation I'll have with Northern Link about some inquiries they've received from the Copthorne in particular, and there may well be an opportunity within Highbrand a lot further.
Well, I mean, I think that from my point of view, that, you know, it will take someone to do a lot of work to rationalise the economic value and potential of a facility here. We say we need one, and we do, if we're going to make this a tourist destination going north. So we understand even from the new owners of the residential side of Mountford Central that they know of interest.
Yes, I'm aware of that, yes.
So, I mean, it's just, and, you know, there are other options, you know, around this community and other things I keep hearing about. And the guys that are working on a development, the new development for Wood Street, are talking about facilities there too. So, you know, there's a lot of talk. It's a matter of with the right people. So, but there are people here that we can put you in touch with that are heating things. Stephen Olds from Barfoot's, from Bailey's and things like that.
Yes, I talk to Stephen quite often.
Healthcare facilities. I mean, I think that we just need to keep you abreast about what we understand is happening, albeit slowly. But there is an awful lot of work being done at the moment on a number of fronts with healthcare, not the least of which being an initiative to try and get our own permanent serviced St John's facility.
Wow.
Because we've got the building, we've got 2 ambulances, but it's largely ineffective. And for instance, the Taredi guys, the owners there, they don't want to be reliant on getting to Auckland Hospital if something happens. So that's cool. And I think that my last point there was on your things to do, not being biased towards the golf, but I do think that we need to add comment into playing the wonderful Wild West, the Northern Wairara course there. And as a guy to what I talk about is that getting people over to the West Coast and then up through the Waipua Forest. So, you know, I think that there's something that we need to add as far as that rather than just the East Coast.
Yeah, sure. So the Bailey's Beach or?
Yeah, well, that's out at, I mean, Northern Wairara is out at Bailey's Beach.
Yes. It's funny because I belong to that community as well, and we've organised a golfing weekend, but it takes in Sherwood and a course up in Fongaree where there's other courses on the way, of course.
Yeah. Well, that one then takes you straight through, and in an hour and a quarter from leaving Dargaville, you know, you could be actually in the Bay of Islands.
Yeah.
I was going to ask all of, you know, talk about quick low-lying fruit. You know, I mean, one of the things that's been quite encouraging was having Kelly's Bay and Glencoe Gully, not Glencoe Gully, what's the other one? The motor camps taking over by
Yeah.
the Motorhome Association.
Yeah, NZCMA, yeah.
Yeah, CMA, and I've heard all the measures they potentially bring through their organisation is huge.
See, there was Amanda Bennett put out a figure for every dollar spent returns 5, was it?
Yeah, there's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the Cotton Valley Trail and linkages right through the north is going to be huge for numbers dribbling through.
One piece we've spoken about before, Craig, was the Motorhome Association having a motorhome friendly town, which requires facility to accommodate motorhome. And then there's two bikes in the back of every caravan that comes through, and that really is low hanging fruit.
Yeah, so we can identify, that's what I was going to ask you was maybe a list of what you think are the easy pickings first up, like, do we need for example, what it would have cost us to put a, like what do they call those sewer drops or
Station.
Yeah.
something that
Station, that's all.
connects to our sewer, so they're very attracted to stopping and spending in town while they clean up and carry on, all that stuff,
Yeah. It's viewed very much as a positive to that whole community at Motorhome, and they do. So there's a school of thought that they don't spend, but the reality is they do spend.
Yeah, they've got to live.
Yeah, so
The Ramakrons,
the other thing I really see as quite important is community buy-in. In Dargaville, for example, Gordon might have something to add to this, but it'd be nice if we could do some promotion on a bit of a reset for Dargaville. Maybe we could get a bit of painting going on some of those older buildings that need tarting up. What do you think, Gordon?
Yeah, just a couple of things. The Motorhome Association have brought their own lot here, and it's just over the bridge in Mangawarri on the other side there. So they've got a massive camp thing there. I think it takes around about 80 is the biggest amount of camper vans I've had at any one time. So there's not much needed there. Probably, I don't know if they do have a dumping station there, but just over the bridge is one at the Celtic service station anyway. So, and they're all onto that. The biggest problem there that we have, and numerous times I've driven over the Mangawarri Bridge, and I get 60, 70-year-old couples caught in headlights trying to get across the road because there's no footpath there into town. Now, I know it was on trend, what is it?
NZTA.
Yeah, that's the one. It was on their hit list of things to do, but I think that's probably one thing we need to push to along that line. Now, what was the other thing that you mentioned, Craig? What were we going to talk about? You asked me about something.
Encouraging some sort of a way to get a community buy into a bit of a tidying up, a paint job on some of those old buildings and stuff in town.
Yes. So, and look, and I've spoken to Jason about this, but one of the biggest problems we've got is the place looks scruffy, and that's caused by all the facades getting smashed up. And that is a problem that we've got in the central business town. But we've got a local artist who's going here and he's doing up some murals, but and he's trying to push it through. But I think that's a grand way to start things off, by doing the murals on these vacant walls and.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got different ideas, but one of the things that I keep coming back to is you look at the history of other, I call them funky towns for want of a better description, but if you look at Raglan and they've got this character that they've developed, and Dargaville's not far off it. It's got wonderful old buildings in there, and it's got that character. It just needs tarting up a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely. But it takes economic buy-in, I suppose. You can't force it on people. The seed have been pushing this for some time, but they've come up with obstacles because when they've encouraged the local businesses to do it, then the word of a traffic management plan comes in before they can do anything. And that just throws everything out.
Okay.
But Gordon, wasn't there some talk of getting a local group generated through the efforts of the owner of the lifestyle? I can't remember the old guy's name. Alan. Wasn't there something going to happen there that he wanted to do something about beautifying to use that word, the town?
Yeah, so what you've got in town here, you've got a number of, how should I put it, old money landlords or vacant landlords. Some of them show an interest. I've got to be careful because I'm probably talking about myself a little bit.
Oh, money, interesting.
But you can,
You
look,
go red.
the town commercially is full up. There's nowhere else to go. But a lot of them, how should I put it? It's inherited buildings and they treat it as though it's a residual income, and any sort of investment that they make into it, they sometimes begrudge it a little bit because it's taking away their. But then there's another group that's coming through that's buying progressively more and more and doing stuff up. So you've got this tale of two sort of towns working within each other. To get buy-in from all of them is very difficult. But the problem is that some of them have done their places up and then next week they've been smashed up by a truck coming into town and smashing all their facade again. And that is just heartbreaking, especially when they've spent all that money doing it.
Yep, we need to look at that.
So just giving up on it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've socialised that idea I've had for the south end of town there by the Central Hotel there, the big white building, and the across the road there where you've got the band rotunda, and I had a look at the band rotunda the other day, and you know, our obvious problem is our restriction of funding, but that's quite historic. I wonder if there's an opportunity for the council to approach the Historic Places Trust and get some funding to really tarp that building up. Because it's a really nice building, it's visually really nice, but it's deteriorating. And then I've been talking about my idea that I've got the Brethren boys looking at designing a shade system to go over that street for a market. And of course, obviously, it's just a concept of mine and an idea that maybe if we had a tidy up of that end of town, got that band rotunda looking really good, it could give us another really good central point in the town to grow the town up. What do you think, Gordon? It's your town.
Yeah, I'm also a member of the Historic Places Trust. I don't know if you realise this. You're finding out funny little greeny things about me all the time, aren't you?
Well,
You're all funny then.
Looking at you, you're full of history.
However, you probably don't want to go to bed with this devil because you start getting classification on a building. Oh dear. Yeah, it can be a very expensive nightmare and a very restrictive nightmare. So sometimes you've got to be careful what you wish for. But I think the band rotunda does have a categorisation. Jason, would you know? I'm not too sure.
I have no idea if it does or not.
Oh, come on, you know everything.
I went and met the owners.
Okay, yes then.
I went and met the operators in that big white historic building across the road, the pub there.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah, they were really good, and they're actually working with the historic people to do some work on that building.
Yeah, no, she's onto it, but yeah. So you've also got to remember, and a lot of people don't realise this in Dargle, although it looks old, it's not actually that old because fire has devastated this town on numerous occasions over the last 50 or 60 years and wiped out blocks at a time.
Mm.
So, but that southern end of the commercial area there's a lot of earthquake prone buildings, and it's going to come through like a dose of salts on us when we have to categorise them. A lot of the landlords at present will die before they have to do anything about it, so they're not doing anything. Yeah, so it's probably, I suppose one thing, if you wanted me to at some stage, I could give a 15-minute presentation on what the problem is with earthquake prone buildings and the categorisation of where they're from, but that determines a lot of things. It sounds as though I'm throwing out nails on the highways you're driving down all the time.
Yeah, I know it's a big issue. I know Wayne Brown's been banging on about it. He says, why the hell have we got these classifications in Auckland, etc., and in the north when we don't have these much of a threat anyway?
I read something just recently that Northland is almost a zero risk earthquakes.
And yet we've got these rules that hamper people improving their buildings, visually.
So doesn't hurt Auckland so much because there's so much redevelopment there. So the old suburbs are getting pulled down and new buildings put up. But a place like this, they don't. Yeah, and of course, then they're going to get caught with them. But yeah, but I think that beautification thing with artwork and all that, and I, you know, I've encouraged young Sean McDonald, it is a local artist. He's done a couple of works around here. But if you go around Whangarei and you have a look there, I think Cambridge is another town. Thames is another one where they've done these murals. I think that's a way to go.
Yeah, all right, so this is probably a topic for us to come back on and have a bit more focus on in the future. I think Gordon's probably got a great deal of knowledge he could share with us and how we put that together. I mean, I know that Mike's come up with the wonderful idea for Kaiwaka of, you know, the T-Row of the North concept, and I think we need to look at trying to advance that as well. But we have a similar but different focus with Dargaville's beautification and getting that more attractive. We're kind of running out of time that we've got allocated, and some people do need to get places that are more important than here. I just wondered, Paul, in terms of the website development, have you got some sort of timeframes around when you think?
Yeah, so I've put August as the time for launch of the website. Probably a little bit optimistic perhaps, but there's a lot of work to go into it. But unless you put a line in the sand somewhere, you don't have a target, do you? So that's where we're aiming for.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is socialise. I'll do it individually if you like over the next month. So each of you to say this is where we've got to now. So take it to a visual stage.
Yep.
So if I do that, it's probably going to be another 2 months before we all meet again.
Yeah.
So I'd rather socialise that and not stop the momentum that we've got going.
That's good, or even if it makes it more economically time-wise, we can just get together informally and run through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Let's not spare the horses.
Don't spread yourself too thin, and yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I would say I'm conscious of that fact that, you know, I can't hang around for another 2 months to get it, you say so. If I can do that either on an individual basis or effectively as an informal process, that'd be great.
Yep.
So that's what I intend to do.
And then, so, I mean, we've covered off on the strategy stuff and finalising that. We're covering off on the website. The other point that's been raised is finding those sort of those action points, five or so action points, and the mayor's suggested that maybe you might like to suggest to us, not now, but come back to us what you think might be. You've had some input from everybody about some of the things they might think be included there, but
Yeah.
maybe if you come back to us with something and then we can sort of go, yep, that looks good, or can we swap this for that or whatever and get that sort of finalised as well?
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair, I would actually be interested right now to know if Paul has got some idea, low hanging fruit. I mean, because I think that we've all got them. And is there a connection or stuff that we could work on or input and things like that? I mean, I've got a couple other thoughts because
Those initial sort of strategies were, you know, they were plucked out of the air really, as well as there's some work that's been going on in the past. But for instance, on the side, I've tentatively put in there that we increase tourism by 50% as a target. Now that might be way off the mark.
I don't think so.
No. But, you know, I've just put a line in the sand there to say that's what our target is. And obviously, you know, without targets, you don't have goals on a football pitch, do you, unless you've got a target that you want to hit.
And do we have knowledge of a number
No.
at this stage?
The only number I've got is accommodation results.
Yeah.
Night spent in a hotel.
Very hard to determine, you know.
It's too high level to be specific.
So as far as our branding is concerned, though, obviously that's going to crystallise out of the website development, and then going from there, which we're talking about within a couple of months, is something we could do, focus on how we come up with some physical signage. Could that be one of those things?
Absolutely, yeah. So for instance, part of the from the designs that we've received, simple things like the Kahu Valley Trail, you know, the signage that's required based on part of the brand asset that we've developed as a design. And so we've integrated the whole thing so that we can use it anywhere. So keeping people to turn left instead of go straight on, and that whole thing, part of the brand assets that we've come up with.
Did you say like brand our signs? Is that what you're saying as well?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. You know, obviously there's a massive expenditure there. So we present the initial findings, which I think, without jumping the gun, I think you'd be really interested in what the stuff that we come up with.
Well, it doesn't need to be a massive expenditure up front. I mean, I'm talking about signs at our boundary, but, and you're talking about signs for the Kaihu Valley Trail. So there's two things. They're relatively minor, aren't they?
Yeah. They are, it's very much part of the wish list.
Yeah.
That we present those findings to you, and it's not complicated.
No.
There is a cost to it, of course, but I think it's the only way we're going to get our own identity. Talk about the Kaipara.
absolutely.
So we're 2 minutes now off finishing up here. Has anyone got any final words from the committee? If not, I'll hand over to Paul and Jason to sum up and close off for now.
Unsurprisingly, Mr. Chair, I have got one quick thing, because I like, and I went straight to your plan on a page. Yeah, and use that, and it's a good structure. I think that there are two opportunities that come out of that, and I look at your challenges that you put up, and you talk about infrastructure deficits, and I've added and opportunities, or, you know, the deficit.
Yeah.
What are, you know, what are, and so we'll elaborate on that. You've got aging population challenge. Well, I think that, you know, actually the real positive is encouraging younger families, what is required, you know, for that. And you know, we talk about this side. I mean, I think that the opening up of residential land in Dargaville will help. People are becoming more aware of Kaiwaka, Mangatoroto, Paparoa, and Pahi, you know, all the little places. But here, the most significant thing is, and it's a low-hanging fruit that we haven't really done anything other than support, is getting a secondary school. I think it'll just grow and evolve, and it's a reason why young families can come here,
Yes.
but more importantly, why they will stay here now.
Yeah, that's key.
So, I mean, I think that just to some of those 2 points, I always like to put positive on with the challenges.
So with the government's release of their charter schools, there was 5 that were unallocated. That means the grabs.
Well, look, that could well be the case, but, you know, the operators of the Mangawhai Educational Trust have had discussions with Seymour and everybody, and, you know, they're not going down the charter school line. They're going as straight out private, and that is going really, really well.
Yeah, perfect.
Just so you're across, it is one of these things that is evolving, and is probably, in all honesty, evolving faster than they imagined.
Well, I think with the growth within Mangawhai, we'll just have to cope with the growth and put whatever we need to do in place to enable that growth. It will naturally, you know, it's not like starting at 0.1, working your way up to 0.10. It could be 0.10 first, 0.5, and so on, just to work your way through surrounding this place with the utilities and facilities that it needs to grow. Yeah.
Well, and I think on that also is that, you know, without holding us up, we've got so many comments that have been made about growth here or across the district. I would like to see one complete table of what our growth has been, whether it's over the last 2 years, 5 years. You know, so we've got one piece of accurate data that we can use. Because I say nothing about growth now, because I don't really have an idea about what it is. You know, I've heard from 4% to 13%. What is it? Yeah, let's all be talking from the same hymn sheet.
So through you, Mr. Chair, it is different based on whatever measures they use for it, for sure.
Yeah.
And that is why we generally use Infometrics.
Yeah.
For the significant forecasting assumptions, right? There is other data out there, as you've seen with the census, which is, as well. So I think, so we can get hung up on what the actual growth is. The point is, we're actually growing quite a bit, right?
For sure.
And we do use Infometrics.
And I guess my point is that there is a real positive in the narrative, in the communications that we can hang around the growth factor. So, you know, we need to just agree a figure or as you say, a source and use it and promote the hell out of it.
So there's significant forecasting assumptions that you agreed as part of the LTP.
Yeah, yeah.
Good stuff.
All right, Alana's got to get on the road. Gordon, you got your hand up. You just want to have one final word there?
Yeah, you know, along the lines of Mangawhai's been open for business now. With these plan changes, Dargaville's open for business.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Going on about that population growth is 13.2. Is that the largest in the country? Do we need to promote that? I think it is the largest growth of any district in it.
Certainly through the statistics information that came through, I think it was.
I think
You know-
Nelson's growing pretty strongly, Selwyn's going big.
Tasman, it was on TV.
Yeah.
isn't it?
It may have the numbers, but percentage-wise, this is the place. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's, you know, let's hit it out of the park and the ones that we're winning at.
Yeah, the proximity to Auckland's working.
Yeah.
Big time.
The big thing is that with this plan change of Moonlight Heights going through, and hopefully with the district plan going through of rezoning of commercial and industrial, Dargaville's now open for business. It's you know, that's one of the things we've got to promote. It's obvious that Mangawhai has been, but yeah.
Just on that note, Gordon, we had a really interesting meeting with the people that are taking over Mangawhai Central the other day. And it was useful to get a commentary from them about what they intended to do. And, you know, like it's a developer's right to put on however many sections they want at a time, but I think it'd be quite useful if we could approach the two partners that are involved and Moonlight Heights to have a bit of a chat sometime, just an informal chat about how many lots they're intending to. So we've got a little bit of
And timeframe.
a timeframe for us to work to.
So outside of my elected member's role, I have been talking with one of those partners, the landowner of it already. We've already had a number of discussions, but yeah, with both of them together, most definitely. I'm just going to be, and I'll shoot from the hip here, it's going to be a huge conflict for me because of my business, but it's all about growth anyway. So I've just got to separate those two aspects, if you know what I mean.
All about it yourself. Yeah, you're smart enough to know when you need to declare something when you don't. It's just simple business, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Hey, thanks very much, everybody. Paul, did you just have some final words and we'll just hand over to.
Thank you for being so accommodating with the ideas that I put forward and how we've got from where we've got to where we are now. I think it's really encouraging. I'm really revitalised by that whole process, really. And there's been a lot of work done to date, and we've got a lot of work to go forward. But I'm really pleased with where we're at.
Brilliant. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
No, I don't have anything to add. I think you're very clear on some of the points that you've raised today that can be incorporated, and we've got that. So
Good.
thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. I think it's been a really good, constructive session, and thank you, Alana, for convening and going to the break.
Like the shirt, Gordon.
Hey, another decorated one.
Very sharp.